South Africa, as part of Africa as a region, we all are faced with the same challenges because we are mostly rural. But on the other hand, we've got a wide biodiversity system, and we feel it's our responsibility that we protect it. Though we find challenges when more developments come and industries, and then the climate change of late, and also fighting for space and for the natural resources as we grow. But however, because we are mostly rural, and that's where we get the food from, so we need to strengthen our protecting of the ecosystems, our waters, our forests, indigenous forests, and also still have land where we can plow our food, because those in the cities depend on the food from the rural areas. So when we are at this conference, we must find ways of how can we do it, how can we still produce food. We know because of climate change, the land degradation, the extreme rains and floods, we just wash away all the soil, fertile soil, and what remains is going to be hunger because we'll harvest less. And the extreme heat that is there, our rivers are starting to dry up. What can we do in order that people have enough water while they are drying up? In South Africa, we're coming up with some programs like water harvesting, that when it rains, the rivers are in flood, let's not leave the water just to go to the ocean. Let us harvest that rain. But on the other hand, the individual households, how can they conserve the water during the rainy season? We have got, besides the water tanks, we have got a program where we have got household underground tanks where we harvest the water. When it's dry, we're able to water our vegetable gardens. And also, how do we protect our rivers from pollution that is there? The women have come up with a program that is called Adopt a River. They adopt these rivers, they see the pollution, they try to identify where does it come from. But now many stakeholders come into place, the industries that, they end up, pouring chemicals, water that they've been using into the rivers. But not only them, also education awareness of the people who are staying along the river banks and others, that they shouldn't be throwing waste next to the rivers, but also agricultural chemicals, that when it rains, the soil is washed off with those chemicals, they end up in the ocean. So it needs an integrated approach that we all work, all stakeholders are to protect the rivers, but the source of our waters. We have got springs in the rural areas. How do we protect them? Some are now have got dried rivers, but they still have springs. Another source of water that we need to protect. We have got we drill water, underground water, but in some areas it's salty. So that is why I say each and every individual must know how to conserve water, how to make sure that the water still is there for the generation to come. So that is why we have embarked on Adopt a River. We've got also what we call War on Leaks, where we engage the youth that we fix the leaks. There's so much water that is unaccounted. It could be burst tied pipes. It could be our own houses. You don't take it when you see a drop and you say it's a little bit. After a month, it's quite a lot. And you find that the toilets and other places. So, but also, in order that children grow up knowing, we've got a program that we call Vision 2020. We start them from grade R to grade 12, where they come with innovative ways of conserving water, where they do poets, they do drama on how to conserve water. It's very important. At this conference, as we conserve our biodiversity, our natural resources, we must also see what are the challenges. People migrate from one area to another because they are following resources that at times it causes conflicts, because they feel, other people are creeping up to us to finish the resources. So we need to have a system or how we do the grazing of our cattle and all, and how do we do our farming, especially our farming. As we plow, are we doing it in a way that the soil is not washed away, the land is degraded. So it's each and everyone's responsibility But on the other hand, we've got the scientists that are also using their scientific knowledge to say that this is going to happen, it's going to be hot, or it's going to have storms and all that. But also we encourage that, you cannot have policy that doesn't have indigenous knowledge. You need to have that indigenous knowledge. It's going to make you informed when you do policies. Don't undermine it. I mean, our ancestors, they knew how to protect those ecosystems that we see today. They knew how to protect rivers. Now you find that rivers are silting, dams are silting, lakes are silting, because we no more observe that. Or you find people planting next to the lakes, and the lakes silt. So we must have a way of going to the people, listen to their indigenous scientific knowledge, integrate it with what is happening now. They can tell you if it's going to be rainy, the next day is going to be rainy, but they get it. They've got indicators through the indigenous knowledge. So this conference, I like it because it integrates both scientific, modern science and indigenous knowledge. But also we must find innovative ways that as you focus, are we preparing for the next generation? Are we protecting our ecosystems? Are we doing the right way? We have to change, work as usual, business as usual. We must think out of the box.
You have been at the heart of South Africa's, environmental policy process. You were involved in Durban. I imagine you were involved in Rio +20 as well. How would you assess the state of what people call multilateralism and the way that countries around the world work together? Because we have an economic crisis, and many countries, coming from the EU, particularly EU countries, say, well, we have no money left. We can't help finance any projects because we have to look after ourselves. How would you assess the state of the sort of multilateral process?
I think it's because people think that in order to overcome these challenges is only through money. You can have the money, but still not achieve what you need. That is why I say it's very important that as we work, we have innovative ways of thinking, and we must not say projects, they come only through money. There's also technology, transfer of technology and skills. And those skills, if they're integrated with our indigenous skills, we don't have to look for money. I mean, I know, for instance, practically in the rural areas where they don't have the money, but they still protect their ecosystems. You must feel it's my own. I own all this. What is there, the biodiversity? How can I make a plan? And that is why I always say women are at the forefront of it. Without any money, they will be able to grow with the little seeds that they have. They can multiply on the seeds. So I believe that it will let us not look only on money. Let us volunteer. Let it come out from our hearts that we can do things without money. And it is achievable. Money, of course, you like it, but also out of what you are doing by volunteering, you can grow money. Because if I start plowing the field and protecting it from flooding, what I'm planting, I'm going to sell to you who is in a city. And the money that I'll get, I can grow it. But what we also need, transfer of technology, because they have to also use technology. I mean, to be more practical, technology. But the technology must speak to what is happening, the realities that are on the ground.